and welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Broomstick, that podcast that opens up the opportunities and the possibilities that spirituality can bring to you, whilst removing some of the woo-woo that we see on social media. Welcome. If we haven't met before, my name is Matilda and I am a professional psychic medium here in Australia. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about aligning your life, basically aligning your actions with your goals and aligning your actions with your values. Both of those are under test globally. And it's an important thing to actually sit and realize. I heard something the other day, which actually makes sense, but I saw it and it says, if there is one Nazi that sits at a dining table and 9 other people sit down with them, that means there's 10 Nazis at that table. And that hit home. Really, we see a lot of dichotomy between actions and what we think. And many of us have seen the behavior of people that class themselves as right-wing Christians and how they behave. There's not a lot of Christianity going on in that group of people, as we all know. But it goes a lot deeper than that. Aligning those values, aligning your actions, wanting to get to where you want to go. And when you fail to do that, you fail in many areas of your life. Think about it this way. When we're trying to manifest things and we're not aligning our actions with the manifestation, whether those actions are our belief system in ourselves, whether it's the belief that we can manifest things, whether it is things that we truly think that we deserve, when we suddenly align with our manifestations, all those things queued up for us, all those things in line and waiting for us, suddenly start happening. Haven't you ever realized when you raise your energy and your vibration that bang, suddenly all the good things start coming in? I certainly have, and many of the clients that I work with really have felt a difference in their life once they start aligning how they behave, how they think, how their thought patterns go with what they're wanting to achieve, and things start happening for them. So we're going to talk about that. As always with all my podcasts, I'm going to cover some current events, and I really want to talk about Germany this week, as well as the United States, and some predictions that I have seen been shown coming in. It has been a week where my own choice of alignment, where I am sitting, has really been tested. Many of you will know I attended a funeral last week, and it was for a young person that went to school with my children. And I very, very good friends with her mother, and I found it really, really tough. Not so much at the funeral or the time leading up to it, but I was being pushed to give some answers that I didn't have surrounding circumstances. And I was dealing with a grieving friend, somebody that was in pain, and I felt useless. I really felt totally useless as a friend or even as a medium. I didn't feel like I was cutting the mustard. But what she wanted to hear, I couldn't tell her. And what I could tell her, she didn't want to hear. And I was really, really struggling with that. But it wasn't about me, it was about her. And I had to sit and listen and just take whatever was thrown at me. And I just found it really difficult not to be able to help somebody. I help thousands of people every year with that connection with their loved one, that knowledge of the afterlife, and someone that's in. This is why I say to people, please don't book a reading so soon after a passing, not because they're not going to come through. It's just that when you want answers, you are in the depths of grief, you're never going to get what it is you actually need. And sometimes you don't even know what you need. but obviously someone that's very close to me as a friend wanted certain answers that I couldn't give. So my faith in lots of things was tested, and it was a tough week. It was a tough week, but it's a new week. We are pushing through, and I'm going to take a moment to do the Patreon shout outs early just so that I can dive deep into this alignment that I want to give. I need to give a huge shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. You guys rock. The community that we have built is amazing. There was a lovely comment there this week. I won't name you so I don't embarrass you, but someone came on and said that they wanted to mention how amazing and professional the community is and how supportive it is. And that is on the people that are there. It's not just about me and my moderators, Alicia, and my other moderators. It's not just about us, it's about you guys and the energy you bring. And the reality is that you make it a good community. So well done to all of my Patreons. I also want to talk about the fact that this podcast that we have here is supported purely by Patreon subscriptions. And there's no ads. There is no, we don't, because I don't know what sort of ad we're going to get. We could get, erectile dysfunction ads. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I want to always make sure that any ads, if I get offered paid partnerships all the time on social media, and I always say no to them because most of them don't actually align with my values. And that is something that I think is really important. I want to live by what I teach. So part of the subscription or benefits of being a Patreon member is early access to all of my appointments, discounts on all my appointments. Every single paid Patreon member gets a discount every month for readings if that is what they choose. The community chats that we have. Last weekend, we had a wonderful coffee morning where everyone that's a paid member of Patreon gets to join me on a Zoom call, ask your current affair questions, your spirituality questions. And we have fun for, I think last weekend we were like an hour and a half, etc. But it is all about, that's your opportunity to ask the questions. In the chats, I tend to steer away from any current affair questions unless there's something imminent going on or urgent going on, purely because I want it to be a place that lifts energy, that people can come to and have a laugh. We talk about all sorts of things. And yes, Kat, we talk about pelvic floor exercises. So know that that is there. There's a newsletter that goes out. There's a lot of stuff going out at the moment about intuition, different sorts of modalities. I'm going to get some other people on board about some different modalities and do a talk on what they do. So without too much waffle, Matilda, I'm going to go on and say my shout outs for Patreon members. Chicken and a Cow, love that name. Shani, Anna J, Catalina Cassidy, Clara Johnson, Maddie B, Kelly, Suli, Sky Bear, KJ, Ashley Koderetz, who has joined for 12 months. Thank you, Ashley. Nubble's mum, Owens M.O., Nana B, Babs, Morgan, Nana 5. Oh, I'm really screwing this up today. Has joined for 12 months. Key, who has joined for 12 months. Cursis, and I know that I have messed that up. Jessica B, Jamie, Catron, who has joined for 12 months, and Lulu. You guys rock. Remember, you keep this podcast going. Make the most of it and enjoy the back catalogue. A lot of things I get asked on a regular basis are there. They're in the back catalogue. They are there for you to use. Okay, What does it mean to align your actions with your true values? I'm going to give you an example, and it's something that I come across a lot in my day-to-day readings that I do. One of the biggest questions that I get asked is there any chance I'm going to find love? Or am I going to get married? And sometimes these people are living a life that doesn't align with the values of having a long-term partner. When they are dating, they are making choices based on instant gratification. If you know, you know, and the old Netflix and chill. Or they're allowing people to treat them badly, thinking that once they put a ring on it, or they say, oh, well, I want to marry you, that the behavior is going to change. But if you're aligning your actions with what it is you want, then you would be setting those boundaries early on. You would be saying, I don't want to just hook up, but I'm available if you want to take me out for a date. That is what I mean by aligning your actions with your values, or in fact, your goals. Your personal values are actually really fundamental to all aspects of your life because they determine what you accomplish and how you get there. Those who do not live by their values often feel very dissatisfied with what they have achieved, as well as their performance along the way. Following your values ensures that you move ahead with certainty and integrity. If you resolve today to what your values are and you adhere to them, your experience of life becomes a lot more fulfilling. Not only that, you can align your actions with the people that you want around you. Your values are your core fundamental beliefs that help you decide what is important and what is not. They are the force behind your attitudes, behaviors, your actions. Living your life in accord with your values will also likely enable you to live life more freely and without, and this is important, self-doubt. You will no longer be second-guessing yourself because your decisions will have the weight of your values behind them. It's also an excellent exercise in consciousness and continuity. Areas that, if practiced with regularity, will very likely change the rest of your life for the better. There is no perfect set of values, and no one can be judged on what their values are. Obviously, they can be judged on what their values are, but what I'm saying is that if somebody is choosing to live by a certain set of values that you don't agree with, your certain set of values is let them go and do that, and I will walk in another direction. Sorry. Goals are really meaningful if they're driven by your values. They are not the same as values. A goal is typically something that you want to acquire, complete, or accomplish. As I said right at the beginning, if you want to accomplish marriage, then your values need to mirror that. Values refer more to why you choose or did not choose a particular goal. Once you've identified your values, you don't need to do anything to achieve them. They will be yours and they will help shape your relationships, career, and much, much more. Choosing your values if you want to choose them, choose to live by them. Part of living by our values means not deviating from them because of day-to-day challenges. Faced with perplexing and continuing problems, it is tempting to take shortcuts and do things the easy way. However, adhering to your values and doing things right will almost always lead to greater satisfaction and achievement. If nothing else, knowing you are a person of integrity should be its own reward. Modern life, with all its pressures, demands, and calls for action, tend to push us away from sticking to our values. I see so many people wanting instant gratification, yet their values and what their end goals are do not meet their actions. By understanding how important it is to live as an upright person with firm, well thought out values, those values become not only targets to aspire to, but also the foundation of which meaningful lives are built. Reflect and accept yourself. Okay, your emotional intelligence will help you be aware of your values. Look at them objectively and accept them without being overly judgmental. I want to talk about judgmental issues in a little bit because there's so many people that are self-righteous on being judgmental of others, yet they expect other people to be understanding of them. And this is a really important aspect of this. Think about how important you consider different aspects of your life and examine them. How important is family, relationships, intimate relationships, your work, your learning, spirituality or religion, and your self-care? Think about yourself when you do any activities. How does each activity make you feel and why? Consider whether each thing you do aligns with your values. When do you feel most happy and fulfilled? When do you feel stressed or like you are drifting off course? Prioritize the actions that align with your values is really important. What is most important to you may not be most urgent. Having recognized what behaviors and actions fill you up, it is critical to follow this up by creating a plan of action that incorporates these or similar activities. It is important to fill up your own cup. Stop thinking that you have to give everything to everyone else. If you're having trouble identifying your values, look at where you spend your money. People tend to spend their money on the things they care about. Remember, you can always change your mind. While values are fundamental, you can still change them. We all grow. There is an ebb and flow to the world. Your values when you were 16 will not be the same as when you were 26, and they're not the same when you're 36. Acting in alignment with your values can avoid you having a lot of regrets. When your actions match your values, you can live a life that feels more meaningful. Decision making is likely to become easier and more natural, and you will feel more authentic. And this is the year for authenticity. There is a bonus factor. When others see you living by your values, it becomes a powerful leadership quality and inspires confidence, respect, and trust. Once you feel the benefits of living when you align with your values, you may wonder why you have ever lived any other way. It does require effort, and it requires trust that the right people and the right things will find you when you align with your values. Aligning, I see so many people on social media that just don't know how this works. They would sell a product, promote a service, promote a t-shirt, promote clothing, and they haven't even investigated how the brands operate, where the brands come from, who's making those clothes. How does this factor in with how I'm living? You see these people do haul after haul after haul, and that over consumerization. And then in the next video, they're doing clean out hauls. Let's live by limited stuff. And so no, it cannot bring you happiness if you don't know what your values are. It also begs the question about who we are surrounding ourselves with on a regular basis. I cut somebody out of my life very recently who had very, very different values to me. It took me a while to realize it. And I realized I just didn't like this person because of how they talked about other people, and certain areas of the world, which I'm not going to go into. But I had to cut them out because they had no empathy for any other human being. It was about them, their life. They wanted to be valued. They wanted to look good. They criticized other people for many, many things. And I just sat back one day and I just went, I don't like this person and I don't like what they talk about. I don't like where they put their energy. I don't like the negativity. And I just had to cut them out. And part of that decision was based on their inability to see anything, and I mean anything in this world or anybody in this world, and have an understanding that other people don't necessarily have the education, the understanding, and the belief system in themselves to do the things that she was criticizing them for not doing. And I had to think about that because there's so many people out there that are willing to be angry about certain areas of the world. I'm going to talk about the Middle East for a second. And there's a lot of Palestinian support, and there should be. But what makes me incredibly sad, and this is something that happened in Australia very recently, there was two Palestinian nurses that said that they would never treat anyone from Israel. In fact, they would consider hurting someone from Israel if they came across them. And I was like, how can you expect empathy and not understand? So there's a common, in the uneducated, there's a common, all Palestinians are terrorists. That's a common thing in the uneducated, or the undereducated, as I like to say. And then to make the assumption that all Israelis are on board with what Netanyahu is doing is huge. It's massive. And we have to start understanding that not everyone really thinks the same. Not everyone from one area of the world or one country is going to think the same as its leader. That is, you're expecting people from outside of the United States to look at the United States and not think that everyone is MAGA. And I had someone leave my Patreon recently. She was not very happy with some stuff going on in the chat. And I was explaining on a spiritual side that I see a lot of anti-American things going on around the world. And it was like, but we're not all like that. We're not all like that. No, you're not all like that. But what the world is seeing is that. So do you understand what I'm saying? You're aligning your values. If you want acceptance, if you want love, if you want understanding, then take that a step further and understand others. Understand that not everyone thinks the same way. Not everyone has the same understanding. And until we start uniting and understanding this, that there's many, many people that did vote for Trump that are undereducated and they're fed information. And if you look at some of the information that they're fed, you can actually understand that when you're uneducated, you haven't left the town you grew up in or you were born in. If you haven't had the education that many others have had, that they're going to go, oh yeah, I believe that. And the constant news propaganda. So instead of going, oh my God, I hate all of those on that side, think about it this way. I don't like what they stand for. And leave it at that. But currently, they are building division. And the more people align with their values and act on that, the better. When we think about our end goals and when we're manifesting, if we don't have aligned actions to what we are wanting to achieve, then we are wasting our breath manifesting. It is about making action. Many people are feeling apathetic at the moment, but you're letting what's going on in the outside world affect your goals and values. The world hasn't ended. There are still opportunities out there, but you must align your actions to your goals. So basically, I'm really asking people to start putting their money where their mouth is. So the saying goes that if you have a certain view of or expectations of others, live by those expectations yourself. I first came on social media. For those of you that don't know, I've been working as a psychic medium for longer than I care to remember because I'm old. And I used to watch social media and TikTok and just in shock and horror at the behavior of many other psychics and mediums and the way that they would basically, we really need to be leaving people better than when we find them. And these people weren't. They weren't teaching anything. They weren't using true ethics. So that's why I came to social media. Now, during my time on social media, I have been really careful not to bring sensationalized content. I will bring you what I'm shown, same as on my Patreon. But I do see a lot of psychic mediums who are in the creator fund or making money off paid partnerships, and good on them if that's what they're doing. But please don't do sensationalized content just because it's going to get you more clicks and views. You know, I've said this and I've said this time and time again. On social media, I could have probably 100, 200,000 more followers and I refuse to sensationalize stuff and give people what they want. I refuse. My values do not align with those mediums that do things like, let's take a peek at this celebrity that's just died. Let's talk about this person that's just died. Let's talk about this murder. Let's talk about this missing person. None of that aligns with my values. So I will block these people. I don't want to see their content. I also don't want to support them by giving them a follow or a view, etc. And sometimes you end up watching it just out of pure shock and horror. This is aligning my values with the way that I live. This is very important to me. And I feel like I am living my best authentic life right now. And it may shock you to believe that I don't live my life as righteously as many people claim to do when they live in that, when they're in the spiritual field. There's a lot of righteousness that really irks me because they're talking about certain politics, or they're certain about certain dynamics, or they're preaching love everyone, and then they're causing hate on another side of it. This is about making people more accountable for their actions as well. If we align ourselves with our values and we put our money where our mouth is, people are talking now about boycotting certain retailers or companies because they've supported the Republican Party. Well, don't support creators that are doing similar. Don't support people that are being inauthentic. This is a lot of this is very, very deep this year with the authenticity and how being authentic to yourself is going to get you where you want to be and keep you safer than many others. And I'll explain that in just a minute. Our values often align with our self concept. Now, you would have heard me talk lots about how important your concept of self or self concept is. If you do not have confidence in who you are, what you are deserving of, what your boundaries are, then you're going to struggle to set your values in life. I always say that the concept of self is the foundation that you build your bricks of life on. So if you doubt yourself or what you're deserving of, then those bricks aren't going to be as steady as you would like. You may waver in your values. You may look at something that is instant gratification rather than something that is part of your long-term goals or something that you can align yourself with. I urge each and every one of you, even if you can be confident on the outside, to evaluate and set and work on every single day your self-concept. If you are not confident in who you are, then how can you expect other people to know who you are and what you're deserving of? Our self-concept is based on several different things. These are how we view ourselves. If we are negative about ourselves, or we compare ourselves to others, or we don't feel confident in how we feel about ourselves, then we will waver. So learn to set boundaries. Really important, even boundaries with yourself. Talked about this. If your end goal is to be peaceful and not to stress about things that you have no control over, stop going down rabbit holes of information that you have no control over. If you want to have a long-term relationship, but you're living like you're happy to just have fun, then that's what you're going to get. It's about this image of yourself. Things like your affirmations on a daily basis. Instead of looking externally for the validation, look inside. Give yourself those words of affirmations. I am worthy. I am capable. I am loved. I am lovable. I am amazing. I am worth the effort. All of those things that you look for, the validation externally. You want someone to show you you're worth the effort. Tell yourself you're worth the effort. Then you're more likely to align your values with act in your alignment with your values. If you know what you're worthy of, you're not going to go out there and do something that doesn't align with your values. It's confidence in yourself and who you are. Stop comparing yourself to other people. We are all unique individuals, and growing up, we're often told to conform or behave or be quiet, because that's our parents' views of what we should be. Think about what you would like. But this is really going to help you whilst you align yourself with your values. Some values that you may look at is, things that can make you, do you value respect? Well, show respect to other people. Do you value honesty? Then behave honesty. Do you value family? Well, treat your family as a priority. Lots of things that you can align yourself with. Do you want responsibility? Show that you are responsible. All of those things will make a difference for you. I hope that helps, but really start living in a way that aligns with your values. Start living exactly how you want to live. Look what you'd like to be in 10 years, where you'd like to live, what sort of job you'd like, what sort of unit you would like, what sort of core family you would like. It's really interesting when you look at it and then you realize how you are not aligning with your values. One lesson that I learned was when it was choosing schools for my children. I chose initially a primary school because it had a good reputation, because it was the one that was hardest to get into, because I thought that it would be good for my children to align with this school. I didn't realize that the values, the teachings, the structure that they had was not the same as my home values for my children. And it was quite a shock when I sat back and realized it. I know a lot of people don't have those choices in schools. I'm just giving this as an example. But I know that I made a choice where I was teaching one thing at home and they were getting the opposite at school. And I tried to make them behave in a certain way when they were at school, and it just didn't work for us. And it made things very uncomfortable. And I eventually moved them to another school and they had a better time of it. But it really does open your eyes when you realize there's many things in your life that you are not following the values that you really have. So I challenge you, sit down and write what your core values are, and then check things like your social media. Check how you're living your life. Do they match up? On that note, I'm going to talk about some things for 2025, which are going to be really, really front and center. And one of those is the downfall of celebrity. The amount of people that are enamored and put a lot of energy into celebrities, they might buy their products. They might go, okay, well, this person's bought out a makeup line. I must go and buy every single item. They don't research where it's bought, what the morals are behind it, what the values are behind it. But because it's attached to a celebrity, they're choosing to spend their money. There will be more money put into the small businesses, the local businesses, the mum and pup businesses that will make a difference. There is going to be a big downfall of celebrity as we get to the latter part of the year. People will lose their social media followings. They may even lose their social media accounts. They may lose brand deals. And you will see this all come to light as we get to the latter part of 2025 and as we go into 2026, as authenticity are becoming front and center, and you, me, and the general public are going to want to hold people more accountable for their actions. So watch out for that. Your energy needs to be going into authenticity and choosing to live a simpler life. I talked about this at my coffee morning this month about how going back to live as close to how our grandparents lived is going to serve us so much better and prepare us for what is coming in. As I said, I want to talk about Germany. There's an upcoming election, which I think is going to be very, very enlightening for the world, to be honest. There feels as if the first result is not the real result. There is some shock value and some unearthing of some cheating and some election tampering. And it will open up the conversation around elections and how real they are. I do feel like the right wing may well either lie or try, or they may well be the winners, but they're not the winners. I'm really hoping that I don't have a clear answer. That's what I want to say. But I feel like there's a lot of outcry with what is going to happen this coming weekend in Germany, and it's going to reverberate across the globe. The recent meetings in Europe, where the European countries are saying that they will now start to support Ukraine on a larger scale. I feel this is a prediction that I made last year, where a lot of people were going to be putting boots on ground, different countries, one of them being the United Kingdom, who have already made that threat. It is very likely that different countries will dispatch their armed forces. I also feel like it is very likely that Trump may well pull back or pull the United States Army back out of some countries or some locations over this year. It is going to be very eye-opening. March feels very, very unsettled internationally. A lot of violence during protests. I have this. I'm not sure if it's going to happen or just be a threat for martial law in the United States, but I do feel that Trump will threaten it. March and April feel very, very destructive. I have said this for a really long time that the United States needs to fall apart before it can be put back together. There is no quick fix on this, none at all. And I really cannot urge you enough to really look at how you are dealing with things in order to manage the energy. I know a lot of people are very, very anxious, and I cannot blame you. I'm anxious too, and I am in Australia, and I wish that I could make it better for you, but all I can do is help you navigate it, because I cannot predict something that isn't there, and a change in this is not imminent. I do think it's coming, but it is not imminent. Be aware for rising floodwaters internationally over the next 2 months. There's going to be something with Antarctica. I'm not sure whether it's a giant ice berg that causes damage to the hull of a boat. I'm not seeing a Titanic situation, but it feels like an iceberg just suddenly causes damage or drama in Antarctica. I want to go to Alaska for possible earthquakes, earth tremors. Moving of earth is what I've been shown. And I'm drawn to Europe, especially Italy, for more volcanic eruptions. Here in Australia, Anthony Albanese is going to have a real problem over the coming weeks with information and gossip coming out about him. It feels very uncomfortable for him. And I feel that he may even be forced to take a step back, could feign illness, could be really sick. And I want to take a warning of assassination attempts, not just President Trump, which I feel is very imminent, and an assassination attempt on him. We are the 19th of February today. I feel like it could happen before the end of March. Do I think it will be successful? No. Do I think he'll be injured? Yes. And I'm also seeing something in Europe, which is there's not a lot of gun violence I know there is gun violence, but not to the extent of the US. But I do want to say that there is likely to be an assassination attempt of a European leader. That is where I'm going to leave it this week. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'm going to give a shout out quickly to Lee. Lee, thank you for your comment on my podcast. You made this comment on TikTok, and I have to laugh. It was absolutely hilarious. You said that I love your. No, you didn't say you loved my podcast. Your podcast sounds like you are reading from a book, or you're reading, so it takes away from the interesting content. Well, Lee, sometimes I do read. I write a script, and the reason I write a script, and I haven't today, which you can probably tell, is because I and ah a lot, and everyone was complaining I was umming and ahhing. So, Lee, let me know your podcast and your information. Let me know your TikTok and what information you put out to the public and how you help the public, and we'll compare notes. How about that? But I thought I'd give you your 2 minutes of fame. Have a spectacular week, everyone. Don't forget, this Saturday, I have a group evidential mediumship event. It is $50 for you to take part. I do perform about 10 mediumship readings during an hour and a half. There's no guarantee of a reading, but you do get to experience the information, the afterlife, and all of that, and ask any questions you have on spirituality. The link will be in my bio. Lots of love, everyone. Thank you for your support, and I will see you next week.